Next, we'll hear from the state of Massachusetts about the Building Communities campaign. Danette Jones and Eleanor White will make the presentation, starting, I believe, with Eleanor White.
Thank you. I'm Eleanor White, Deputy Director of the Massachusetts Housing Finance Agency. I'm joined here by Danette Jones, Director of the Madison Park Housing Development Corporation in Boston and a member of MHFA's board. We will try to put our innovation, the Building Community Campaign, in context to highlight for you what it has meant both to the agency and to the people we serve. The Building Community Campaign is shorthand for a radical and fundamental transformation of our agency from a quasi-public, multi-billion-dollar bank for affordable housing into an engine for deep-rooted community building. We do this through a vast array of individual programs of minority business development, security, mentoring, and the delivery of prevention and social services to more than 50,000 households in housing we have financed. Many of these programs were developed with other private and public partners, like the Boston Police Department. With strong education from our residents, we realized that larger community issues such as crime, violence, inadequate education, and the lack of jobs and economic opportunity were seriously jeopardizing the success of our housing portfolio, particularly in inner-city neighborhoods. In response, we had to change the way we approached the whole idea of housing management. The change did not come easily. It was met with tremendous resistance, especially on the part of some staff who felt that a bank had no business acting like a social service agency. That resistance lessened, however, as we struggled with an unprecedented wave of crime and violence in some neighborhoods and saw the effect upon our housing. Doors were torn off as fast as they could be replaced, random gunfire kept residents hostage inside their buildings, and housing managers were resigning out of fear of working in such an environment. Our staff felt increasingly helpless to deal with huge problems seemingly beyond their control. As building communities progressed, this comprehensive housing management approach worked to reduce crime, keep kids in school, dramatically increase managers' ability to maintain the physical condition of property, and create economic opportunity in the neighborhoods. In so doing, it gave our staff, our residents, and our property owners and managers a sense of real power to positively change their world. The contrast with non-MHFA housing in the same neighborhoods is clear evidence that it works. MHFA does its business now in a whole new way. We are in these communities for the long haul, and while our innovation is certainly no quick fix, it represents, we believe, a tested method to improve the quality of life in troubled housing and troubled neighborhoods.
As Director of Madison Park Development Corporation, I have frontline experience with MHFA's Building Community Campaign and its impact on an over 500-unit residential community in Lower Roxbury, one of Boston's oldest, most culturally diverse, and now regrettably most troubled neighborhoods. Our housing complex is a child born of massive urban renewal of more than 30 years ago. Urban policy of the time bulldozed entire neighborhoods. While low to moderate income complexes like Madison Park were built to replace destroyed housing units, little thought was given to the replacement of the neighborhood's supporting infrastructure, the jobs, small businesses, the libraries, barbershops, settlement houses, and the security that comes with knowing your neighbors and knowing that they are there to help. Enter MHFA's Building Communities programs, which are leveraging resources to reestablish some of those essential linkages so central to the vitality of a community and its residents: conflict resolution, security, job training, job creation, alcohol and substance abuse intervention, all activities happening because MHFA recognized that its properties cannot operate in a vacuum, that they must function within the larger context of a community. Some ask, why is a lender involved in these activities? That's not their job. One reason is that housing is where the people are. More than 50,000 households live in MHFA-financed housing, which means that agency programs have an impact almost unprecedented in scope. And of course, there is another reason. If not MHFA, then who? As a socially responsible lender, MHFA has the clout, the leverage, and the willingness to take tremendous risks to support not only its portfolio, but also neighborhoods in crisis. MHFA, through its highly diverse staff, has created a formula that looks beyond bricks and mortar to the needs of real live human beings. This formula is working with residents to reclaim and build communities, one building at a time. Imagine the potential if other lenders were to adopt such a community-based approach. Thank you.
Max, to begin with.
One of the strange things in reading it is that the security program is 6 days and not 7. Does that mean that it's not needed on the 7th day, or what plans are there to try to deal with that in the future?
No, unfortunately, criminals don't rest. It's really a question of resources. We've had to pick and choose. As we mentioned in the presentation, this is one program that was developed with the Boston Police Department. We followed their lead in how to structure it. It's a system of roving patrols. It has dramatically changed the level of crime in these neighborhoods. If we could do more, we would.
I'd also add that we leverage other resources than just the MHFA security program. Many of the sites have their own security, which supplement on that 7th day.
Yes, Harriet.
The resource issue, because there's nothing more discouraging than launching a program and then the cynicism develops if it isn't there in the future. Long range, what do you see here?
It's an excellent question. We feel we're going to have to be in there for the long term. We also feel, and this has become kind of hackneyed in the public sector, but we do look upon these expenditures as investments. What's at stake is a huge real estate portfolio. The New England real estate economy, as most of you know, crashed over the last several years. Our portfolio did not. We point to these programs as having maintained the viability of these developments in very tough economic times, and I think they've proven the value. It is a lot of money to spend, but we think it's worth it.
I'm still not quite sure what you mean about where you see the money coming from.
Oh, I'm sorry. The money comes, for the most part, out of MHFA's own reserves. We're a quasi-public. We live off our earnings. These are not state or federal funds.
But you feel that, I realize a few of these programs you indicate have become self-supporting, but do you see the resources being there out of your reserves for continuing these programs?
We've set aside resources in some cases to build annuities, essentially, on into the future. In some cases, the federal government has concurred with us in this approach, and in fact, HUD is coming up with programs that we hope will substitute for some of these expenditures long term. There's no easy answer. That is the key question.
Ellen?
I appreciate the notion about investing in the future, but I wonder if you've tried to struggle with the issue of quantifiable measures of success and where you are with that.
We have. We can point to a couple of things. We did have BOTEC Analysis, which is located in Cambridge, evaluate the tenant assistance program, which is, some of you may remember, we were up here a few years ago telling you about that one. That came away with overwhelming satisfaction on the part of residents and property managers. What we hear, and again, this is how do you measure how you prevent something. Property managers tell us that major damage is prevented in these developments through the operation of these programs. And Danette, you might want to comment on that.
Yes, it has become very clear to us that we had a lot of vandalism occurring on weekends and evenings when the staff was not there. Therefore, with the after-school program that we have in place, we are preventing a number of these incidents. Some of the evidence is anecdotal, and I think part of the challenge for the agency is to make sure it's documenting the hard stuff. And I think some of the numbers on the minority business program and some of the numbers on some of the other programs that are part of this Building Community campaign are in your packet, and I hope we can refer to them.
Luis?
Is the lender strategically placed as the best party to provide these services?
Actually, we feel that in this case that we are. The lender has the most at stake. And in our world, the lender also comes with financial resources. We have, through a mixture of persuasion and in some cases close to coercion, gotten cooperation by owners and property managers because we hold the mortgage. We do bring some level of clout to the table. I would love to see some of these programs replicated in the private lending sector. I think it would do a lot of good for some of our banks.
I think our time is